Go. Basically, because of not only cultural genocides during her reign, at her behest and with her knowledge, and without her doing anything to save these people, had a right to protection. In Rwanda, Rhodesia, the euthanization of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of her own citizens because she didn't want to afford them the right to pay for their own health care, forced or otherwise, just the simple allowance of abortion, assassination of more righteous or well-liked political rivals, Diana, open sodomy in her streets with her knowledge, adultery and fornication until there are more bastards in her country than there are legitimate born children.
That's a strong statement, and you can't back that up.
Can't I?
No, you can't. You can't say things that you can't back up.
STDs are so common over there, it's basically like the cold. You have herpes, oh, so does everybody else.
Okay, that has nothing to do with illegitimate children.
Genital warts, doesn't everybody have that?
I think sometimes you just run your mouth.
No.
He can't prove any of those last three statements.
It's short. God be praised, the queen is dead. Now, on the other hand, in the Bible it says, I exhort, therefore, that first all supplications, prayers, and intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. That would be in 1 Timothy chapter 2. You can look that up. The new king can change a lot, and it needs to be changed. Britain and the UK need to be gotten back on track. He needs godly counsel. He needs a change of heart, but he needs godly counsel and prayer. The British people need to cover him in prayer and need to try and get him godly counsel. To say nothing of just getting the knowledge and fear of God into this guy. How will he hear if somebody doesn't tell him? Who's going to say something to the king?
Well,
who's going to literally risk?
He's definitely had knowledge. I don't know if he ever accepted it, but he's definitely had the opportunity to have the knowledge.
But somebody in his circle needs to risk being fired to tell him he's wrong and that God doesn't like that and that God will judge him for that, and say it that way. And if the British men around him don't do that, you British and Celtic men around him, if you don't stand up and say, no, you're wrong, and no, we're not going to do that, or at least I'm not going to, and risk your career, and that's all you're risking. He's not going to execute you. You're just risking your career.
Are you sure about that?
Well then, isn't that better? If he kills you, you don't have to find a new job.
You do realize nobody that listens to this lives in England, right?
Actually, that's not true. Our second largest listener group is in the UK. 60% of our listeners are in America. The other 40%, 39% are in the UK. 1% is from India for some reason. 40% of our listeners are male, 30% are female, and the other rest didn't put it on their profile. There's 4 categories: male, female, not specified, other. We have no other.
King Charles already has a lot to answer for.
I'm not saying he doesn't. I mean, besides the fact that, he helped his mother assassinate his ex-wife.
Charles can't keep a secret to save his life, let alone anybody else's. Do you honestly think that she put his inept ass in place of position to trust that she was going to murder his ex-wife? Do you really think she put his incompetent, stupid, befuddled face in any point of trust in that plan?
Well, cheating on her first was probably his first mistake. No, that's not true. Marrying her was probably his first mistake because he just did that out of spite.
No, it was arranged. He didn't marry her out of spite.
Well, then why? If it was arranged, then why was the queen so angry?
Because the queen was all about appearances. Diana was the perfect wife on paper for Prince Charles.
But the whole thing was that she didn't like that she was a commoner.
Princess Diana was not necessarily a commoner.
Well, she
Her
was. Her
stepfather was an earl.
It's a step. She didn't have any aristocratic blood in her.
Her mother can be traced back to Queen Victoria's uncle.
Everybody can be traced back to an English royal at some point in their lineage.
I'm just saying, Princess Diana was not necessarily a strict
If you were from
commoner.
a European country, at some point, one of your relatives got boned by a royal. might have to cut that out of this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Anyway,
Prince Charles is dumb enough
but
on his own.
that's my point. Look, and it's the same in every country around the world. Look,
Did I just say Prince Charles? King Charles. My bad.
Charles. We'll just call him Charles.
There's too many Charleses
My
over there.
point is this. In every country around the world, no matter what the state of your nation is, right? You need to be praying for your leadership. In America, right? If you think Biden is your president, then you should be praying for him. One way or the other. If you think Trump is still your president, well, then you should be praying for him to step up to that role. Because he isn't. If you think that, I don't know, if you think that half the nation should secede, well then, why aren't you praying for that? Are you praying for that? Right? Are you covering whoever you think your leaders are, no matter how schizophrenic your leadership hierarchy is?
Is that a legitimate question for me?
No,
Or?
no, I'm saying no matter how schizophrenic your imaginary or real hierarchy of leadership in this country is, you should be praying for the people in authority. You should be praying for the people making those decisions every day. For your congressmen, for your local, your mayors, your city councilmen, for your state representatives, for your governor, for your national, federal representatives, and for your president. And no matter what country you're in, whether you're in
Or
the
your
UK
king.
and it starts with the king coming down. Now, it's nice to say king, actually. Just that's better. I like King of England. Sounds better than Queen of England.
You're sexist.
I'm misogynist. That's true. Woe unto a nation who's ruled by queens.
This is not a real verse.
I didn't say it was, but there's a verse like that. You can look that up.
No, there's not. You know what? I'm going to look it up right now.
Look it up. Google it. Just put the word queen. At any rate, so that's my point. You should be praying for the people who are in authority, because we do want to live quiet and peaceful lives. Like right now, the FBI is going around in America. The FBI is going around to Christians' doors, kicking in their doors and searching their houses, looking for anything on them because they stepped out and they said something about somebody. And they're trying to intimidate the Christians. We are not living quiet and peaceable lives.
Yeah, there's no such verse.
Give me that.
No.
That was my adaptation.
There is a verse, woe to a nation whose king is a child.
Let me see your phone.
No.
I'll find it. Pause the video.